Moses in his song, which witness to their faces declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead, after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, will you eat before you are punished in every member of your body? But he answered in his own tongue and said, no. Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. And as he was at the last gasp, he said, you, like a fury, take us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life. After him was the third made a laughing stock. And when he was required, he put out his tongue, and that right soon, holding forth his hand manfully, and said courageously, these I had from heaven, and for his laws I despised them, and from him I hope to receive them again. Insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for that he had nothing regarding the pains. Now when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good being put to death by men, to look for hope from Yahuwah, to be raised up again by him. As for thee, you shall not have a resurrection of life. These men knew that they had a promise of everlasting life if they guarded the commandments of Yahuwah Elohim. Every single one of them systematically butchered and cooked. Yet they would not turn from Yahuwah's commandment. When the youngest was presented to the king promised him that he would make him a happy man, very rich, if he would just eat a little piece of the pork. But this young man refused. And we know what happened to him was the same as what happened to his brothers. The courage of these men to stare death in the face, but know that Yahuwah Elohim would give them everlasting life. And surely the mother also died. And they all knew and they spoke of an everlasting covenant, a covenant that Yahuwah had made with them for everlasting life. And they believed that they would come up again. Just imagine this young boy when he stuck out his hands and he says to the king, these I have been given from heaven, but for his laws I despise them, and I hope to receive them again. In the midst of this great tragedy, Yahuwah had not forgotten his people, but would rather raise up for them saviors in the form of a family who would serve him with their heart, mind, and being and lead his people to victory against the Syrio-Greeks. It all began when Matithyahu, who is called Mattathias, a Kohen or priest who lived in the rural setting of Modi'in, was asked by a government official to come near the altar that was set up there and make sacrifice to idols. He responded to the official, I and my sons and my brothers walk in the covenant of our fathers. Elohim forbid that we should forsake the laws and the ordinances. We will not obey the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. After speaking these words, a Hellenized Jew came forward to make sacrifice. But when Matithyahu the Kohen saw it, he burned with great zeal and wrath, slaying him, and then slaying the governor who was sent to oversee the events. After this, he stirred up his countrymen, saying, whoever is zealous for the Torah, the law, and maintains the covenant, let him follow me. He then took refuge in the mountains of Yehuda. Matithyahu and his 5 sons, Yehuchanan, Shimon, Eleazar, Yehunathan, and Yehuda, led a rebellion against Antiochus. These men were called Ha-Maccabim, meaning the sledgehammers, coming from the Aramaic word Makaba. Some say that this word may come from the term Makab Yahu, meaning the designated ones of Yahuwah. Matithyahu was an elderly man who passed away of an old age, leaving his son Yehuda HaMaccabi the Hammer as general of the revolt. He led the Hasidians into guerrilla war, many times defeating the generals Antiochus had commissioned to deal with the uprising. He led the children of Israel to 8 very strategic victories against the Syro-Greeks. Yehuda refused amnesty and reconquered Yehuda in 164 BC, and he was able to tear down the altar of Zeus and reconsecrate the temple of Yahuwah only 3 years after its desecration. The Maccabean victory against the Syro-Greeks was indeed a miracle from Yahuwah Elohim, who delivered his people with a mighty right hand. And we see that Yahuwah did this many times in the books of Maccabees by actually sending Malachim, which are called heavenly messengers. People call them angels, but that comes from the Greek term, so we will not use that. But the term Malachim, the messengers of Yahuwah, came and fought for the children of Israel on the battlefield and could be visibly seen. So the children of Israel knew, obviously, this was a spiritual battle, not just a physical battle. But then again, the ancient Hebrews really didn't differentiate between the two elements as much as the Greeks did. They knew that this physical world and this physical existence was all spiritual and it was all tied in together. But anyway, they knew that this was a spiritual battle, and the forces of darkness had come upon Israel to wipe out their seed forever and to oppress them with the demonic plagues of wickedness and violence and corruption and the abomination of desolation and all of these things that came upon them. But the children of Israel saw a great light in the redemption of Yahuwah during this time. When he saved his people, he redeemed them. And though Antiochus Epiphanes came upon the Maccabees with elephants and chariots and armed men by the thousands outnumbering his people, Yahuwah saved them, and he will do so even again when the armies surround Jerusalem, just as the prophets have spoken, that Jerusalem will be a cup of trembling in those days, and that all the nations will surround Jerusalem in those days.